This is a show that for the time being we're calling Positively Governmental because we can't come up with a better name yet. And
I
nobody who
think
watched, huh?
the musings of Wade and Dave.
Yeah. Uh, the group that watched last week didn't send us a better name, so we're stuck with this one for the time being. I'm Dave Furneaux, City Council member, and this is Councilman Wade Evans. And
Hello, everyone.
we're just here to. Central is a great city with amazing potential, and we're just here to show that it's possible to discuss political matters respectfully. That's the bottom line. Um, we each week we're going to go through the last council meeting and the upcoming council meeting, and some things on the horizon, and maybe muse about something that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis in government. We're going to talk a little bit about what the city council actually is and does. But first, let's jump into the agenda. First of all, we do live stream on Facebook and YouTube, and I monitor the chat. So you see me looking off to my right, it's because I'm looking to see if anybody says anything interesting. If you got a question or a better idea than what we're talking about, please chime in.
Well, we had a pretty interesting meeting, and I'm sure you got your email today. We have the budget workshop coming up.
Yep.
So I need to print all that out and look at it. I saw the capital outlay budget. Looks like we have some pretty good stuff happening.
I'm not sure I got enough paper to print all that stuff.
Well, I was thinking of more down to city services. Yeah, but I noticed there was a $4.2 million expenditure. I'm guessing that's the money for the Beaver Bayou project, land acquisition.
I haven't printed mine out, but that is on the horizon. I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah. Well, we had the big item at the council meeting. Of course, we appointed Lon McNair as a reserve deputy. Lon is a community-minded individual, a Navy veteran, retired. He works out at he works for PSC Petroleum Services Corporation out at one of the plants, and he's a reserve officer. I'd sponsored the resolution to appoint him, and he passed, obviously, with flying colors. He ran for city council for Aaron's the seat that Aaron won. He actually ran against Aaron in the primary, but I got to know Lon throughout that process. He's been helping, and he's actually on the new board of the Veterans Memorial here in Central, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. I'm the only non-veteran on that board, but Lon is a veteran and he serves as well on that board. It's a great place. People should go check it out. It was the brainchild and the dream of Charles Lee Hinton. I'll have to tell the story one night.
He did a bang-up job. We'll have to, we're not going to venture to interviews. Maybe on Go Central Show we can do the Veterans Memorial one week.
Yes, that'd be great.
Of course, the big item from last Tuesday night was the changes to the Board of Adjustments, and didn't want that to go without a mention or a technical change, just to make sure we do a good job of keeping those seats appointed. It's the council's job, and we're going to make sure that we have some good quality individuals always deciding those things that kind of run interference for the council and keep some of the large number of items that would come each month off our plate. We delegate to them, and they do a great job. Yeah,
and then the smaller item was something that's been going on now since last September, and I'm more than anything, I'm relieved that we moved past it. Hopefully, yeah. We decided that we are going to build or at least purchase land to build a city hall at the corner. The school board building their office there and developing that corner, doing the parking lot for the football stadium, the entrance for the stadium, everything that's going to be happening on that corner is very exciting. And to think that we're going to build our city hall there, in addition to all that.
Well, also as a sister building to the school board is building their offices and meeting facility there as well. So it's going to be a nice center for government. But let's be clear. What happened Tuesday night is the council has authorized the mayor, which I guess we could get a little bit of that, little foreshadowing what we talk about later. Checks and balances in our system. The mayor's the only one in the city that can sign a contract. But the council has to authorize him to sign the contract. So it's one of those, everybody's got to be on the same team getting the thing done. So the council has done their part to authorize the mayor to sign a purchase offer, which would go to the school system if they like what we offered, which is the appraised value. If they like that and they want to sign it, then we'll have a deal. The mayor has that on his desk for contemplation at this point.
And look, there's been a lot of chatter about the price and this, that, and the other. And I've spoke with some of the previous administration regarding that, and that was just an aggregate of the whole site. It wasn't a hey, we want to buy this particular spot. Tell us what it's worth. And so, there's been lots of discussion about it. But the reality is the school board has a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers to sell any land that they sell to any entity whatsoever for a fair market value price, so as not to be giving away the resources of the taxpayer and the city. If we were selling something, we'd have the same responsibility. And so that's kind of where we're at with it. It's a very simple deal. Hey, we want this lot, 2 acres, give or take whatever that lot is, and that's all it is to it. There's no complications in it. So
I was encouraged that it was a 6-1 vote of the council, which was encouraging to see that much of a unified voice in deciding that's where we'd really like to see City Hall.
Yeah, and the mayor, he back when we were initially discussing it, he spoke openly and happily about supporting the decision the council made to move forward. And he said he would work as hard to secure either site. So I look forward to him honoring his word and let's move forward. So
hopefully this goes to the school board next month for their consideration. And lawyers getting involved, it might come back to us with a counteroffer to change a comma to a period or something like that. But hopefully we can just look at the spirit of this thing, since it's a purchase offer and not the actual contract. Hopefully we can get this thing pushed on through and then worry about the details when the purchase contract comes up. But I think everything's pretty well lined out in this purchase offer.
One of the things you'll have to excuse my dogs, dogs and kids. It's Thursday night at the Evans household. There was some comments about our roles, and this is something that I've been curious about, and I've done a lot of reading, Attorney General's opinions, the Larson Act, and one of the things that I have taken away from all of it, and it's something that I think we all do if we're on the council, is there's this idea that we should or shouldn't negotiate or discuss, whether it be a future endeavor for the city or, one of the things that comes to mind with me is the ODA, the offsite drainage analysis that we have. I mean, I've spoken to the people at CSRS, in addition to the mayor, and trying to get that put together. I've spoken to the police department without the mayor to do resolutions for hires. The idea that a council person in their individual capacity can't discuss something that they are then going to bring to the full council for that discussion, whether it be a resolution or ordinance. And I think, honestly, that I'm within the bounds of my duties to do those things. So
let me fast forward. And the nice thing about all this is, no matter how we arrive at it, when it comes to the actual nuts and bolts of the transaction, we've all got to be on the same team. The mayor can't build anything or buy anything without us giving him the money, and we can't build or buy anything even if we have the money, unless the mayor will sign the contract. So it's a nice checks and balances. And I think one of the things that people asked me early on in our council tenure here this last couple of years, they said, well, how are things going on the council? And I said, there's a good bit of disagreement. We're all pulling in the same direction. We're just pulling on different ropes. I think we're all wanting the same thing, and ultimately, even though there's a lot of back and forth, I think we get to the point where we recognize working together is what makes it happen for a bright future for Central.
That's definitely for sure. Do you care to discuss any of the Breck stuff?
Um, you know, it's not really a council matter, so
Right.
I feel like it's in its early stages. It's going to happen pretty quickly, whatever happens. But hadn't thought to talk about that. But I do have some things I would like to talk about. On the council agenda was an item for Shoe Creek is coming up. It was introduced, and it's a fairly minor change to their subdivision. I have opposed it on principle because I've always felt like Shoe Creek. I want Shoe Creek to succeed. I didn't like the placement of it. I was pretty vocal about that when it happened. Um, but it's there, and it's in the best interest of our city for it to succeed. My concern has been primarily the impact that traffic is going to have on Morgan Place, with Morgan Place being the only westerly exit and entrance from that subdivision. So you've got all the big entrances on Sullivan Road. If anybody wants to go west, wind through there and run through the Morgan Place subdivision and end up on Jewel Road. So I've always felt that was unhealthy. I do know that there's been a general commitment at the state level to finish Wax Road, to complete Wax Road through that subdivision, through that area on south of between Central Square and Shoe Creek, and then going directly north about just a little west of where the Praise Tree Service is. And so that would actually be a state road going all the way through there and connecting the back of that subdivision so that there won't be any impact on Morgan Place. So with that in the offing, I want the best for Shoe Creek, and I'll probably, depending on what I hear week from Tuesday, probably be in favor of that.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the proposal. I haven't read through it. People there's a lot of hard feelings about Shoe Creek. A lot of water under the bridge, but at this point, it would look funny, but I'm actually have been quoted as saying I'll actually wear the cheerleader outfit to stand on the corner and cheer for its success, because at this point, failure is not an option. So I hope everything that they wish and as long as it's good for the city, I hope it succeeds.
We're kind of in this. Go ahead.
I would like to see the commercial aspect of it take off, and so I'm hoping that there's been some announcements, public announcements about an Aldi supermarket and some other things. So I'm hoping to see some traction on that as well, and not just the residential development. I'm looking forward to the commercial aspect of it.
Well, in case the listener that listened to us last week is not here this week, and maybe we have somebody different. A couple things we touched on is our streets analysis, which is coming up. I intend to introduce that. I have the contract offer, the proposal back from Senator Sanji to put together an analysis of all 200 miles of our streets, help us prioritize where to spend money and how quickly to get all of our streets up to snuff and do it in the right order. So that's coming up. And then changes to public comment. That's with the attorneys being drafted. Hopefully that gets introduced next week. You want to speak to that, Wade, what we're talking about doing?
Yeah, and I actually spoke to Councilman Moak about it prior to our last meeting, because I just, the way we hear items is they get introduced. The sponsor or co-sponsors typically will outline what it is and then make a motion to approve it. And that motion gets seconded, and then it goes straight to public comment. And this will change the order. And we will actually discuss the item prior to it going to the public. So then any questions the public may have can get answered, if they get answered during that discussion period. they may feel that they don't need to comment because their questions were answered, but it will give us a chance to go over it at length, any council questions we have prior to the public comment. Then it will go to the public. The public will get their 3 minutes each to address any concerns or questions they have. And hopefully, as we try to do at all meetings, we write down those questions and then answer those questions after the public comment. The goal is to make sure everybody has a very clear understanding of what we're voting on and what we're deciding, and what is possibly going in to be made into a law.
Yeah, my frustration over the years, attending 10 years worth of council meetings before I ever got active in government, was that I would sit and listen to public comment about what I thought was going to be voted on. And indeed, it doesn't get amended, but all of a sudden, after public comment's closed, council member comes up and says, yeah, well, let me introduce this study here, and let me tell you what the engineer said about this, and let me tell you the concern that was raised by our staff about this. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I would have wanted to speak about that. Now that you've shared all the stuff that you guys know, or you guys and you ladies, I want to talk again, but it's too late. So having the council in good faith lay out all of their arguments, all their pros and cons, and all their extra information is a real big part of this for me. Just to make sure we disclose everything and let them discuss the whole package.
Yeah, no, and I'm hoping it'll help streamline some of the longer public comment times where people just want to get up and either they support it or don't support it because of something that may get answered, and then they don't have to ask the question. They can be clear on whether they support it or not support it prior to the public comment. Then they'll know when they get up there. So,
well, along the lines of public comment, we had an interesting situation at the last meeting. Had a citizen that came in late from work and wanted to speak after the meeting, and in the public comment after the meeting. And our rules say you can't, and kudos to the clerk, he applied our rules correctly. The card was turned in, but it was turned in late. So according to our rules, you can't let the citizen speak. So I want to have a discussion about maybe we should say there's some other mechanism for getting your public comment request in. I either accept them by email. So if somebody knows they're coming, they can email in and say, hey, I want to make public comment. And that might be the easiest thing to do, rather than disrupt a meeting by having them come up halfway through a meeting and turn in a card.
Yeah, and look, if I see, a lot of times during a meeting, I will ask for a suspension of the rules to reopen the public comment. If I see there's substantial desire from the public to readdress the situation after they've heard us.
Well, actually, what I was speaking about is the comment period after the meeting.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
When they turn in a comment card. No. Right. And after the meeting, I actually saw a text I'd received, said, hey, I had turned in a card, but it was too late, so I didn't. Again, I'm all about public comment.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love the people that show up to meetings and sometimes just go after us. And, I'm not a fan of some of their techniques, but I sit there and I sometimes I chuckle, which I shouldn't. I did, and Ray Ashford actually called me on it, and because I'm human, I'm fallible. I mean, I make mistakes, and it's just part of being who I am. Sometimes my emotion shows on my face. I don't have a good poker face in certain moments. So, but any and all interaction is appreciated, because whether we agree or disagree, I know you're engaged, and that's, engaged citizens. I made a comment prior to this last meeting. People asked me, where do I get my input? And the truth is, anybody who dares make eye contact with me in public, they will get a chance to know me, whether they want to or not, because I usually introduce myself. And I take all opportunities, whether it be a call about a city issue or whatever it is, for anyone that reaches out and contacts me in this city. I usually will have that conversation they were calling about, but then we switched gears and I asked their opinions on hot button issues because I truly want all the public's input I can get. And I like to hear different views. You know, part of what I do for a living with being a kitchen and bath designer is I play devil's advocate with my customers. If they want something that I see may not be the best thing, you know, I play the devil's advocate, and citizens can help do that with us as well. I have a sounding board that sometimes I'll call and ask opinions of certain people who tend to analyze things from a different way than I would, because they'll say, well, maybe why are you thinking this? And so I appreciate all the input. I know it's a little off topic from what we were discussing,
No,
but
that's fine. That's fine.
it's just how we come to our decisions,
Right.
at least for me.
Budget workshop you mentioned, Tuesday the 18th, I think 18th, yes, 18th at 5:30 at Kristenwood, not our usual 6 o'clock. And for anyone who's never been to a budget meeting, it's perhaps one of the longer and more boring meetings of the year. So bring popcorn and a comfortable chair and maybe a soft drink, and enjoy the event. It's a lot of talking, a lot of numbers, but it's an important meeting because it's setting out our priorities. The priorities for the city are set by what we're going to fund, because that's a lot of what we do, is decide how to spend money and how to provide services to our citizens. So important process, and the mayor sends a preliminary budget, which we received today. Council has an opportunity to, because the mayor has invited it at this public workshop, to give input for him to formulate his final budget. So this is our opportunity to pitch and say, well, we'd like to spend this much money on this, or we don't like spending this much money on this, or want this added or subtracted. And hopefully the mayor keeps an open mind on it, looks at some of our priorities and rolls those in with his, and then brings us a budget to the city council meeting sometime in the month of June. And the last budget, and I read some things today that kind of concerned me as to how it's going to happen. But the last time around, or actually the last 4 or 5 years, the process has been changed so that the council cannot amend the budget. I read something at the LMA today that made me think maybe they're going back to where it used to be, where the council could amend the budget. So I've asked the city attorney to clarify that before we get into this workshop. But typically, the mayor's budget comes to the council and it's an up or down vote. And if it's a down vote, the mayor's got to go back and do a little bit of more hobnobbing with council members, see what it takes to get 4 favorable votes, and come back 2 weeks or 4 weeks later and do it again.
Well, I can tell you there's a few things that I have on my mind about that. And, you know, economic development's a big deal to me. Economic development and events. Quality of life, I mean, it was talked about. Then we had COVID, you know, and so since we didn't spend those quality of life event dollars during the COVID years, but our tax receipts are up, I'm hoping that we can really step it up in this budget, because I think our citizens want to see us spending our tax dollars that we take from them on drainage, roads, and things that make us go, you know, all be happy.
Well, I'm on board with economic development and the quality of life, but you did say the two things that I'm most important to me as far as large budget items is drainage and roads. We have some serious problems coming in roads if we don't get serious pretty soon. Prevent the base failures and spend it all now to save $10 later. So that's an effort, and we have money to do these things. So I'm hopeful that we can all agree. Kind of like I said before, this checks and balances thing. The mayor may want a budget, or we may want something in the budget, but it's going to take the council and the mayor agreeing to get it done.
Yeah, I've got to send an email tomorrow or tonight when we get done, if I can remember. I was on Core Lane today, and you know, all this rain has been very tough on the roads, and they've got some pretty bad potholes out there that, you know, hopefully part of our part of our road project will be that. So
let me catch up on comments. Somebody said something about your comment about being in a cheerleader outfit, and something about nightmares. So we can pass on that one. Question asked: Are we satisfied with the progress that's been? Uh-oh, where'd you go, Wade?
I'm here.
Okay. Are we? Has drainage been covered to your satisfaction? Living between two rivers in South Louisiana, drainage will never be covered to my satisfaction. Have we done enough yet? No. Do we need to step up our game? Absolutely. And we'll start making that effort again and see what happens. I know
But
that there
look,
was.
go ahead. I was going to say finish that, but I want to add on to that.
Well, I know there were some large plans going into last year, and it almost seemed like everything in the city, because COVID came just before the budgets. Everybody was just happy. Just let's just lock down. Let's get a budget. This was back during the time that everybody thought it was 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 8 weeks to flatten the curve, and it was during the time nobody really knew what to expect. So Zoom meetings for council meetings and limited communication and no face to face. I don't think our budget process got the scrutiny and the effort last year that it normally would. And I hope it's a lively debate next week, and then when we try to pass it at council. And I hope some of the things, especially drainage, roads, like you say, economic development, quality of life, all the things that really make this community. I hope those get a serious run in this next year's budget.
You know what drives me crazy is all the weeds I see in intersections. I don't know where that would be at in the budget, but I hope it's addressed.
Wait, I'm going to ask for $200 for a weed eater for Councilman Evans.
I don't want to have to go do it. I mean, my buddy Randy Anglin, look, he was out at the Jewel Road roundabout, I don't know, 8 months ago, a year ago, with his blower. I give him many props. Him and Bridget Whitney. There was a few of them out there cleaning up the rocks along the curb. But a city of our size, I feel like we should probably have a crew that takes care of that every now and again.
Well, and that does bring up one issue. We have all of our major roads are state and parish roads. So there's some feeling like, well, because they are not our roads, we don't have to maintain them. That's a parish with state's responsibility. And while it's technically true, it's still the thoroughfares in our city. So
Yes.
it may offend some people to say, well, why are we cutting the grass on this particular? Why are we cutting some grass on Hooper Road? Well, because it needs to be cut, and it's our city, and it's not in the state's.
We have to look at it.
Yeah, it's not in the state's budget or priority to get it done, but we need it done.
When my neighbor has trash in his yard and he's not around, I'll pick it up, because guess what happens to trash in the neighbor's yard? If it doesn't stay in his yard, it usually ends up in mine. So look, if it's in our city, I'm not saying we need to repave the road, but picking up some trash and cleaning some intersections, I think that's kind of a big deal. It's what our visitors see. So
I kind of flip the narrative. In most cities, in many cities, almost all the roads in your city belong to your city, and you've got to pave them and maintain them and repair them and fix the potholes and resurface them, etc. We're just lucky that we don't have to do the heavy lifting on those roads. Right. If they were all our roads, not only would we be doing the trash pickup and the roadside ditch and the mowing, we'd also be repairing the roads. I just feel we're fortunate not to have to repair the roads, so it doesn't offend me to keep our city looking good.
Correct. I did notice there's some money in beautification, which is great. So I'm anxious to see what that is.
Are you going to get a facial?
I hope. $100,000, what the initial number was. I'm anxious to see what it was.
I think you got to keep it under, what, $38 or something like that?
Yeah, 62.
62, okay. So yes, one last thing Wade and I were talking today about discussing is, I guess this is born somewhat of a comment I made to Wade several years ago, and I meant it to prove a point. When a council member goes out and walks a ditch, they're not doing their job, they're campaigning. And my point was that technically there are some very defined limits as to what a council member actually can do. And I'm going to tell you, if you call your council member and say, I've got a ditch problem, technically you're calling the wrong person, but you're actually calling the right person, because our jobs are more than what technically we have to do. So really that falls under city services, which is the executive branch of our government, and they're all very willing to help out. Um, but it's a difference between the actual job and the practical job. What do you think, Wade?
Well, look, I know that I laughed when you said it way back when because we were kind of at odds, and I think I was in a culvert at 9 o'clock the night before, just moving some straw out the way. But it is true. But one of the things that I remember talking to our crews about when I got elected, and I look, I stop and talk to them, and I go to city services just to thank them, tell them they're doing a good job, because at the end of the day, they all make us all look better. But when a citizen calls, when they take the time to look up a phone number and reach out about a sinkhole or a drainage issue, it's the biggest deal in the world to them. Okay. Yep. It may seem mundane to you in the moment, but to them, that's the biggest thing in their life in that moment. They're calling you to complain about because it's an issue. And that's where our empathy for others comes in, because while it may not seem like a huge deal in that moment to us, understanding the importance of getting it dealt with to them. And so sometimes I'll have to go walk a ditch because, city services is busy and tied up. And sometimes you go out there and you've got to look at the problem.
I tell years back, I was kind of getting on city services when someone would tell me, and this is before I was elected, would tell me, yeah, I called city services about my trash and they just gave me a phone number to call. Well, okay, technically that's right. Or I called city services about my sewer and they just gave me a phone number to call, because technically it's EBR's problem. But I want to see all of us, council members, the mayor, the city services, anybody. I want to see us all take the attitude, just as Councilman Evans was just saying, in that moment, they found somebody they feel like should be able to help them. And the last thing you want someone to do is feel like you turned to me and I just said, not my problem. So I think that the actual job and the practical job, it also ends up in the arena of, if you weren't elected to something, Wade, and your neighbor called you or somebody across town called you that knows you and said, hey, I got a problem. I got a ditch overflow. I'm afraid it's going to run into my house. You wouldn't, even before you were elected, you wouldn't have told them, we'll call city services. You'd have been in your truck with your boots and your shovel.
Or flip-flops and a stick, whatever I can find. Look, I'm going to tell you, Coach Ollie, smart man. He's a man of much wisdom, Coach Ollie Myers. I'm lucky enough to get to visit with him on a pretty regular basis. And he said the key to public service is two things. You listen, and you be a good listener. And then you explain to that person, you're going to do everything in your power to take care of it. And then you do everything in your power to take care of it. And if you can help them, you help them. And if you can't, you did everything you could do, and that's all you can do. And so that's the attitude I have about it. And I try to follow up also. It's key because, look, we're busy, but I spend a lot of time driving to and from jobs or looking at stuff in my own life. And I try to do a lot of phone follow-ups in my downtime where it's windshield time or what have you. Because I would imagine our city services, and I don't know, maybe it would be time to do an anonymous phone poll just to see how, the perception, but they have done so well at catching up on some work orders just by sticking to their system. And so I'm happy with the way things are going with those guys. But as far as our roles, I look at, they're a private contractor, but I'm an elected official. I work for the people. I represent the people. They work for the people. And everybody in the position that we're in or on the other end that do the work, we all work for the taxpayer. And when we forget that, that's when we become jaded in our responsibilities. And as long as we keep that at the forefront of what we're doing, whether it's campaigning or helping, it makes the citizens realize that we do care, and we're going to continue to do the best we can to make this city better.
You know, sometimes a moment will really become poignant to you after the fact when you find out exactly what happened. I was on Duval Road helping a guy whose house had taken on some water, and he's taken on water several times, and we're looking at what we could do for him, etc. And a neighbor, a couple of houses down, was looking at what was going on, walked up. He made a comment, and it didn't really register too much to me that it was a problem for him. And I guess I didn't respond. I don't remember exactly what I said. And a year later, this guy made a comment to a mutual friend about how I had treated him. Well, I called and I apologized. I said, I'm not sure really what I did. I don't even remember when I met you, but if I didn't take care of your issue, I'm sorry. Can I come now and take care of it? And after I reached out to him and explained to him, I was blind to his comment. I was focused on that guy taking on water, and it didn't even register what he wanted. But like you said earlier, Wade, in that moment, that's a really important issue to that person. And if we don't seem to listen sometimes, or if we make a comment and you make a comment and we don't seem to take it as seriously as you do, remind us that it's a big deal to you in the moment. And if we drop the ball, give us an opportunity to apologize and make it right. So we're all in this for the right reason.
Yeah, I had today. I was taking a break from the job I was on and looking at my voicemails, and I had one from April 23rd. Now that's a few weeks ago. And it was a constituent, a citizen out here, and I called her, and I was so apologetic because I'm like, look, I'm sorry. I a lot of times don't check my voicemails because I just call the number right back, but sometimes I miss it. And she said, well, you called back, and I needed to talk to you either way, so I'm glad you called back. But sometimes, you get caught up and you forget. And for the most part, people are very understanding. They just want their problems taken care of if we can help. That's what government, look, I mean, we can argue about what government's about, but at the end of the day, it's the basic services that the citizens are paying taxes for. Anything else is fluff. And so when it gets, when drainage is creating a problem for a septic system to not be able to drain, and people can't use their restrooms in high rain events, put yourself in that position and you realize, hey, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to them. It's a big deal to us. It's a health and safety hazard. So I enjoy that part of the job way more than I do going to council meetings. I can assure you. The bickering at times gets a little bit old, but the helping never gets old. I enjoy that part of it.
Had someone make a question here. Will the budget workshop be recorded? And I guess maybe they mean televised too. I'll send an email to the mayor and ask him to see if we can put this on the city's video feed. But yes, it will be recorded. Recording that you can ask for from city services, but if we have simply put it on the website, that's even better.
I'm wondering if we need a new PA system. I get calls from people all the time. They couldn't hear this person or couldn't hear that person on that video.
It's on my wish list for next Tuesday night. So
okay, well, I was going to say, I mean, when I look at our budget and the numbers, I'm thinking, how much could a PA system cost that would work with the camera? I mean, $5,000, $10,000 maybe. I don't know, but goodness gracious.
Well, it all goes back to public participation because that's a portal into what we're doing.
Well, and I think because I get text during the meeting, I know people are watching. It's not just my wife and my mother. I mean, I get random people send me a text. Hey, I can't hear you.
Well, would it be worth?
I like to blame the mayor, but I'm just joking.
Would it be worth 25 cents per citizen to have that audio and the stuff at the meetings work correctly? Would it be worth 25 cents per citizen? Because that's $7,500 right there. So
yeah,
when you think of it that
I
way,
put up enough for 5 people, right? I mean, I'd pay for my 5.
There you go.
Here at this house.
Yeah, people are saying the videos are definitely hard to hear. We need to step up our game on that. So we'll talk about that Tuesday.
Yeah,
But,
I don't know if it's because it doesn't. Look, I'm not an AV guy. I can build a beautiful cabinet to store it in, but as far as why it doesn't work the way it should, I don't know. So,
it's a combination
anyway,
of equipment and training, so yeah, it can be addressed. So anything else on your mind, Wade? We said we talk for up to an hour, but if we're finished after 8 minutes, we're signing off. You don't need to hear us.
we're 40 minutes in, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you, I worked really hard today, and I cut the cord on my cable, and so I was in there setting up this new streaming channel that does documentaries, and I was watching a documentary on elevators and time, and it put me right to sleep. So I'm glad you called when you did.
I
was
called
able to
Wade
get a
about
couple.
6 minutes before we come on. Are you coming on tonight? He goes, what? Huh? What? Huh? I'm taking a nap.
But I needed that nap. Cat naps are really good. They say anything less than 15 minutes is a good cat nap, and if you go any longer than 15 minutes, you'll be groggy. So,
Well,
I don't know how long I slept, but I feel
we've
great.
probably gone too long anyway. We're not that interesting. So thank you to those few that turned in. Hey, look, share this. We build start sharing these things when you come onto them, and your friends will see it, and eventually maybe we'll have some really lively discussions.
Yeah, this is about just talking about what we do, and so I look forward to next week. Should be interesting after the budget meeting.
Michael Jackson microphones have been suggested. I don't remember what a Michael Jackson microphone looks like, but okay.
Okay. Hey, I mean, maybe we could get one that does the auto tune.
There you go. Be doing some karaoke.
All right, Dave.
Wade, thanks for coming out tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. We'll be back next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, and next Thursday night. We can talk a little bit about the budget.
That should be fun.
There you go.